Listnr production.
Welcome to the Motorsport Brief. It's Friday the 8th of March 2024. We are counting down to the Australian Grand Prix in just a few weeks' time. F1's in Saudi Arabia this weekend before the cars head down under for our big race. Today we'll talk to someone who's been an event ambassador and who's now doing great things for young women aspiring to make a career in motorsport or the Aussie automotive sector. Hi everyone, Rusty here. Thank you for joining us for another edition of the Garage Shortcast. We have a cool feature episode out now, a two-parter with Dick Bennett from West Surrey Racing, who's guided and engineered some legendary drivers in his more than 50 years in the sport. He opens up on those fierce battles between Martin Brundle and Ayrton Senna when he was working with Ayrton in F3, when both of them were kind of knocking on the door of Formula One, overcoming visa issues for Mika Häkkinen and how he blew the establishment away with his speed, plus working with BMW in the British Touring Car Championship now, and what those awesome super touring cars were like when he first joined the BTCC back in the late 90s. They are such cool cars. I have very fond memories of them, and there's a few that actually live in this part of the world nowadays. You can find that episode with Dick Bennett just by going back to the Rusty's Garage Library and searching for it. Our guest today has had two high-profile careers, really, and the learnings from navigating the first, which is a notoriously tough and very public environment, no doubt helped to prep her for the role that she enjoys today. Kate Peck hosts Motorsport on TV, is a proper, and I mean proper, long-time fan of two and four wheels, has ridden in some remote but very cool places, and is doing great things with Motorsport Australia's incredibly successful Girls on Track program, which we'll talk about shortly, and a new venture just announced, which will see her in more of a corporate position championing women in automotive. Kate is on the line. Hello, my friend. This is well overdue. Welcome to Rusty's Garage.
Oh, thank you, Rusty. What a pleasure. I have been such a fan of the show since day dot. So it is an absolute honour to jump on and have a good chinwag, because we know we do that very well anyway.
We love that, even when there's no microphones around. You graced the catwalk in all sorts of big cities around the world at major fashion events globally. That, as I said in the introduction, is a fiercely competitive game. Probably some of the positives that aren't always celebrated from it is that it is also a great confidence business for young women. How has that kind of life helped you for the portfolio of things that you're enjoying now, do you think?
Oh, look, I think it's very character building, because you're introduced to many adult environments at a very young age. You have to deal with all kinds of bizarre and interesting situations that perhaps a 16-year-old wouldn't normally be put in. And you don't, as a model, you don't really have any rights either. So you're really just the clothes hanger. So you do have to keep your wits about you. You need to be street smart. And and a lot of girls don't come out so good in the end. It can be hit and miss, but luckily for me, it was a great confidence booster. I grew a massive network internationally, and I was able to mature at a really young age and realize that my life is definitely one where I would like to involve lots of people in lots of different environments, and no 2 days can ever be the same.
Now, what's that line out of the song? Passion or coincidence? You have been an ambassador for the Australian Grand Prix, I think on more than one occasion, if my homework is right. How did those two worlds collide? Did you chase them? Did they chase you? How did that all come about?
I was definitely chasing them. So I was modelling at the time, and the role popped up as the 2012 ambassador, and I hunted them like a tiger in the woods, and they eventually came to the party, and I did lots of interviews for them, and they were convinced that I was the person. I'd just started getting into motorcycles, and I'd just gone on a big 2-3 month trip to Africa on a motorbike, and I think after then I'd come back and I was just convinced motorsport was the way forward for me. So I think that helped the cause as well. But then I had the most amazing experience with them. during my year, it was just me and Lenny Kravitz, like hanging out with buddies. I was introduced to Mark Webber and Doohan and Sir Jackie Stewart, and everybody was so lovely. And that was really the tipping point of my career when I knew that media and motorsport were going to be my future.
That leads us to naturally your genuine, your real love for it. I mean, you talked about riding in Africa there a moment ago. We'll talk about some of those things. But where does, if we peel it back a little bit, does it come from your dad or family? Where's it come from?
Yeah, it does. It comes from Dad, which is something in the Girls on Track program we're trying to shift. But still, for my generation, a lot of the time, motorsport does come from Dad. So Dad would take me. He would travel around the world every year for about 10 years, for about 10 months of the year, on the motorbike to all different continents around the globe with my stepmom riding two up. So he invited me to a trip to Africa in my very early 20s, and that was 3 months. And I just finished, riding a scooter, and that was about as good as I was. And then I got on and had a couple of goes on my brother's KL 500 and KX 500. Anyway, then I got on a KLR 650 in Africa, and that was my introduction to larger format motorcycles. And it was just keep up or you're screwed was really the line of the trip, because he wasn't coming back for me. So there was one option.
Some amazing countryside. I would imagine you've got some incredible memories of that. And am I right in saying either you alone or perhaps you and your dad have ridden the parts of the Himalaya as well?
Yeah, so I went for a 2-week trip to the Himalayas. So we did the highest motorable passes in the world. And then this year I went with my dad to Mongolia. So that was a 2-week riding trip to Mongolia, which was the most culturally insane place, but also just visually, it was just unbelievable. But so that was my dad's 90th country on a motorcycle. So I was glad to take him somewhere he hadn't been. But he's fairly hardcore adventure rider. Like it is the way of life for him. And I am so lucky to have been introduced to that, because it's just not something that a lot of people go and do, ride 10 months of the year for every year on a motorcycle. Like it's just a really strange concept. So for me to be able to go and do that, we've also done Mexico and Colombia and Sri Lanka and Wales, all kinds of random places. So that's one thing I must do every year these days is go for at least 1-2 week motorcycle adventure overseas. It's my goal for the year, is to do that once a year, every year from now on.
Unreal. 96 countries. I have massive envy. Can we get to your TV stuff if we can? We're leading to Girls on Track naturally and Women in Automotive, but I want to share a little bit of your story to that point, because I think the sum of these parts is so important to what you do now, right? So how did the first TV gig come about? How did you go and how did you find that shift? Was it an easy shift from the modelling side? What was that like?
Oh, so my first proper TV gig was MTV. I was one of their VJs, and I got that from being the host of Australian Formula One Grand Prix. And I was actually not a natural at television. There are some people that are naturals, and I was not. I needed a lot of work. I think I'm still a diamond in the rough. I need a bit more polishing. But hey, polish is so boring. So I'll never be fully polished. But you should have seen me when I started. Oh, goodness. It was steep learning curves. And luckily I had a pretty great team around me of just young, fun MTV humans. And we just go on party and then talk about music. And so even though I was kind of terrible at my job, I feel like I was, I got through it. And every day I would learn and try and be better, just hang on to your gigs by the skin of your teeth, and here I am.
Because I know what you're like and how good you are at continuing to be better, to grow and so on. There comes an opportunity to work for Ten for the legendary RPM motorsport program. I've had a good word to a mutual friend in Michael Heaton, who I've mentioned on the pod on several occasions. He's been great with intel over time. Kate, he gave me nothing for this. Nothing. All he said was, he was super impressed when he got to work with you in various capacities there, various stories that you did and so on, about just your proper love for it. And he felt that came through, maybe because of that diamond in the rough stuff that you were talking about. You were you.
Yeah, well, he gave me my big break as such. So I will be forever in debt to Michael Heaton, and he taught me so much. And it was the role of a lifetime. I'm on, a national network, free to air, and we're talking about motorsport and motoring and motorbikes and adventure riding and F1 and MotoGP.
Sounds
all
terrible.
Year long.
Sounds terrible.
A terrible job. I was like, you're going to have to pay me more to do this. And I got to just pitch any story that I wanted to, and we would go and do it. We would go on adventure rides. We'd jump up in planes. I got my race car license. I went monster truck driving. It was the most insane gig, and forever it will hold the most beautiful space in my heart, dealing with people like Hito and you, Rusty, because you were there as well. And I just, there's sometimes you get gigs and you're like, wow, I'm very blessed for this one. So let's hang on to it, ride it for as long as this wave goes, and get to the end and feel like, that was it. That was good. We can move on.
Invariably, that means that you get the chance to do some experiential things, right? So were there perhaps rides on the MotoGP two-seater or two-up rides with superbike riders? What kind of stuff have you been able to do along the way where you've actually more or less stepped into the racer's shoes and felt that?
Oh, God, I think the most confronting thing to do is ride two up on a MotoGP bike around
with a Bayless or somebody like that. It's so eye-opening, isn't it?
It is. I did it with. I got the chopper in with Mick Doohan, and Mick was the one who was going to be riding the bike. So I was like, Mick, this is kind of one of the second time I'd met him, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. You two get out and do ride a lot. He's like, no, Kate, I haven't ridden all year. And I was like, oh, Jay. Oh, no worries. Sounds great. So we get on, and he just sends it. And it's just such an uncomfortable experience being on the back of a two-seater bike, because it's just, if you let your hand off or your visor is even slightly open, the whole of you is just ripped off the motorcycle. And knowing that Mick, he's such a pro, he had not ridden a motorcycle in a year. He's just been busy up there flying his choppers and drinking champagne. And hadn't gone. It didn't faze him at all. That was probably a highlight experience for me by far.
Now, in more recent time, there's been a kind of motocross element to what you do. You and I crossed paths, for example, at WSX last year at a Honda function. We got to talk with the legend, and I mean the legend in Ricky Johnson, which is awesome. Domestically, you've been doing some stuff on, in relation to MXTV and so on. Will you continue to do that? And just tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so I'll be covering the 2024 Pro MX Championship. We'll have round one at Wonthaggi, so that is a pretty gnarly track, and the level of competition is extremely high. The racing is so entertaining. That'll be aired on SBS and Stan Sport, along with my co-hosts Lee Hogan and Danny Ham. So that's going to be another excellent year. It'll be my third year on board with that crew. But talking about RJ and that incredible Supercross year that we had, the never-ending interviews. It must have gone for about 3 hours and we didn't stop talking. But having RJ on at the end, and I just remember that story where he'd caught up with Jet Lawrence in the US, and he was just talking to Jet, and I don't think Jet knew who he was. And RJ was asking him about his bike, and Jet was talking through the feeling on the front end, and just how the bike felt when he was out on the track. And RJ's just like, no wonder this kid is so good, because it wasn't until RJ's like mid-20s that he started thinking about what those, exactly all those feelings and that feedback and sensations that Jet was getting years ago. So I found that little snippet of information just so fascinating.
Hey, can we get you to hang on the line there for a moment? A quick break on this edition of the Motorsport Brief. More with Kate Peck on the other side of this. This is the Rusty's Garage Shortcast, joined for this episode by the dynamo, that's probably not a good enough word, that is Kate Peck. You've probably seen her on TV in Australia covering motorsport. What you mightn't know is that Kate, along with the likes of Molly Taylor and Jess Dane and many others, is actively contributing to the sport by inspiring young women to get involved. And she's now doing something similar in the automotive sector. Let's get back to the chat. Can we come now to, firstly, one of two programs that you are now immersed in, right? The one I want to get to first up is on the motorsport side, Girls on Track. I think this kind of really shifted properly into gear in our part of the world pre-pandemic, just pre-pandemic. What we do in Australia here is really world leading, isn't it, with this program?
Oh, 100%. It is unbelievable the amount of attention and just eyeballs that we've received internationally as well. And nationally, the interest that we've got, the people that want a piece of this pie is just unbelievable. Like I know the event manager is just overloaded with people wanting to partner, and the quality of girls. And basically, the program is we have two types: Inspire for younger girls up to 8 to 15, and then 15 to 22 is the pathway. So they're already thinking about their next steps and where they want to go, and we educate them on the roles in motorsport and how they can get there by offering them, mentorships and internships. How do you write a CV? How do you network? How do you make space? How do you forge your path in this tricky industry? So it's just been unbelievable. One particular girl who is shining like the brightest light. She's heading over to F1 in September or August. So she's going to be working as in an engineering role in the high performance powertrain area for AMG Mercedes. So working on the car. She's only 23. Her name is Carly Zhu. And that is our goal, and we're already achieving our goal. And with 22 programs across the country, there's so many switched on, super intelligent young women getting in our programs and coming out the other side and getting roles and jobs and infiltrating this funny little motorsport industry of ours.
Well done. I'm glad that you're inspiring, and you just knew that there would be examples like that of actually, making it there. It is a showcase of things from media to engineering, etc. As you said, you've gone around the country to different racetracks and continue to do so, often in conjunction with race meetings, so you can take them through pit lane and have them work with different people and be up close and around the stuff you and I love, race cars, right? One of the highlights of the program is invariably around Formula One. So we probably should say to the girls who've perhaps applied for this year, if you didn't make it, don't be disappointed. No doubt 2025 will be just as big, if not bigger. You go to Albert Park, they get unbelievable access, don't they?
Yeah, unbelievable. Like, this is the same access I was getting when I was the F1 ambassador. Like, they get basically free run in the F1 paddock. We go in and we do some garage tours also, but State this year, the F1 team have offered up a 5-day kind of work experience role for two girls that they spotted last year across the 5 days. So two of the girls from our program from last year will go in and be part of the F1 circus that happens in Melbourne, which is such an incredible experience because we're in Australia. We love this country, but God damn it, we are so far away from everything. So to present those opportunities, it's just mission impossible. You've got to go overseas. So that is incredible. But also, the ambassadors like Molly Taylor, Jessica Dane. We have some incredible girls that get to mentor these young women aged 15 to 22. That tiny, 20 girls of, I think it was 650 that applied, actually got through to this program to come on this insane day of AAA access. They get to talk to the engineers, the mechanics, the team principals, just really the strategists. They can ask whatever they want, walk away, and they're just beaming and they take away so much from it, and the community strengthens, and it's just all happy fuzzy feels, Rusty.
Well done. We'll look forward to seeing some of them in the paddock at Albert Park, and I really hope they enjoy that. Some big news, Kate, in the past 48 hours or so. if I've got the acronym right, Women in Automotive. Now a new leadership group, a shift up a gear, if you will, from a national perspective. It is a bit of a power group too, without pumping all your tyres. Rachael Reed-Butler, who's very well known in PR circles. My good buddy, Nadine Armstrong, who I work with on the car sales range of podcasts here at Listnr, who's an unbelievably good journalist, but so immersed in all this stuff with you, with Girls on Track and so on too. Give us a sense of how this came about and what your plans and hopes are for this.
Yeah, so we've been looking to us three and been looking to work on a project, something that could offer women in the industry a community or a network, and this just happened to come up. It was the VACC, Victorian Automotive Chamber of Commerce, were kind of pulling back a little bit on it. So we put up our hands to take it over, and they agreed, which is fantastic, and we couldn't have done it without their support. And now everything is just ramping up 200%. The network, the communications, the events, what our offerings are, which is content and mentoring, and job board has absolutely gone bonkers, and the amount of people that want to partner since we've just launched is just incredible. So I think that it is the right time and just what the industry needs. There are a lot of women that are interested in cars. I mean, obviously, they're the ones doing the spending a lot of the time. They are making the decisions from home. And they've also, they want to take these cars to the tracks. They want to experience cars in different ways, and they want it to be done in a safe and, it's always a safe environment, but, a very friendly, inclusive environment. And so that is what we are going to be able to offer them, and taking it nationally. So I'll be, I'm in New South Wales, the girls are in Victoria. That's kind of one piece of the puzzle to start the growth. And also two wheels, and stop just all about this four wheels rubbish. We need to bring in some two wheels. So I'll be looking to introduce a lot more of that flavour as well to this community, because there's lots of two-wheeling ladies out there. Quickly,
can the Girls on Track program, the learnings perhaps from that, filter through to what you're doing here? Are there some parallels? And crystal ball gaze for me, 5 years' time, what are kind of the hopes for the three of you and beyond for this program?
Yeah, so 5 years' time, it needs to be very well set up in every state. It would be great to start interacting internationally, but we need to be having more events. The membership needs to have grown significantly, and we need to feel like we have really strong teams in each of the states, so that this can offer this community and service to everybody around the country. Because I think we are quite forward thinking in New South Wales and Victoria. We've got a bit more access and a few more resources, whereas I know in WA they're craving something like this. So really having a stronghold across Australia is something that a lot of people have been requesting in, say, South Australia, WA. So that's going to be 100% key for the program. And just in terms of what we've learned from Girls on Track, it's just the next generation coming through is really hungry. They want to get involved. They don't know how to do it. Their dad wasn't in motorsport, so how do they even get into motorsport? How do they get into motoring? They can't afford a fancy car yet. What resources are out there for that? So we want to be a sounding board for these young women trying to get into the industry. There's going to be lots of job roles and internships, volunteer roles that will be available to anybody who wants to get involved in the community. And it's just going to be a really strong professional platform for women that are dealing with all kinds of interesting, wonderful things in their jobs and need a place and a platform to be able to discuss them and ask questions.
To finish, a little fun story. Now, my source may or may not be one Jess Dane, who's currently listening in North Carolina. Hello, Jessica. Now, she tells me that there may have been a crazy car ride, no speeding, I'll explain, a crazy car ride with you and Molly Taylor in Melbourne after Molly might have actually done an address for the VACC. In fact, it was right before the pandemic, perhaps. And typical of our friend Molly, I think she was playing like fuel lotto. There was like no gas left in the tank. You were all nervous. But this whole idea of win A and maybe something like that, I think there was a bit of a conversation around it perhaps back then, was there?
Oh, yeah. We've been talking about this for a long time with those loose units there. The Molly, she is not to be trusted behind the wheel on a paved road. Maybe on an off-road, but not on a paved road. Her risks are just too far for someone as conservative as me.
She's not. She's a good egg. She's a good egg.
No, she's great. I think they're so supportive of this, and it's everything that they push forward and pursue in the industry is just more of them. You know, they're the pioneers, they're the game changers, they're the ones we all look up to. So if I could get them out for another crazy bang down St Kilda Road made with no fuel and some loud tunes, I would do that any day. Instead, now they've gone to take over the world. So I don't know when that's going to happen.
You're doing pretty well yourself too. You're a proud mum. You've somehow found some time to study in the wine game too, I'm told. Enjoy a little glass. Congratulations on everything you've achieved so far. Well done on powering with both of these initiatives. And I know that there's lots more that you want to tick along the way for both of them, to you and the team. We hope that both of those initiatives continue to shine. Well done.
Oh, thanks, Rusty. Much appreciated. Thank you for having me on the potty.
For more information on the Girls on Track program, just go to the Motorsport Australia website, which is motorsport.org.au, and follow the prompts. There is info there too, just announced, about Molly Taylor's Mad Garage internship, which is offering a kind of exclusive opportunity for an FIA Girls on Track participant to work with Molly Taylor Motorsport and Subaru Australia throughout the 2024 Bosch Motorsport Australia Rally Championship. Really cool opportunity. You can gain first-hand experience in the very dynamic world of motorsport and a valuable insight into the broader automotive industry too, through a whole range of things that Molly and that team are going to share with you. And just on the Women in Automotive, or Win A as well, for more information, go to all the W's, womeninautomotive.com.au. Some other quick bits of news before we wrap up this episode. Erebus has announced the same lineup for the Supercars races at Albert Park that they ran at Bathurst. So Todd Hazelwood back in the driver's seat for another round. Good luck there, Todd. No news on Brodie Kostecki yet. That's from either side. Lots of fans are asking. I know some of you have hit me up on social media. We kind of really have to leave it now to both parties, hopefully to find a resolution and let them announce it when they're ready. We have asked both parties if they would like to come on, but we're not going to pester them. Looking forward to catching up with Barry and Gary Rogers at the Shannon's Speed Series event in just over a week's time. AWC Race Tasmania, an event that they're very passionate about, those two. Supercars have released a statement saying that the Rogers have sold their stake in the sport, in supercars, to an overseas investor that's had connections or ties along the way to Liberty Media, who now own Formula One. IndyCar season starts this weekend at St. Pete in Florida. Some of you have been kind of worried about Max Verstappen just absolutely dominating F1. IndyCar could be one of the most open and exciting seasons. Will you be watching the likes of Will Power, Scott Dixon, Scott McLaughlin, Marcus Armstrong and more this year? There are so many that have a genuine chance of winning races. The Ford Performance Supervan, which sent socials into orbit at Bathurst with Romain Dumas at the wheel, will be at the GP in Melbourne too. Those wings, those crazy wings on that van, create nearly 2,000 kilos of downforce, and it's got 1,400 horsepower available at the flick of a switch. Over 1,000 kilowatts. That is nuts, that thing. Can't wait to see it. Rick Kelly mightn't be racing now, but the former Supercars champion and Bathurst winner is busy, let me tell you. While supporting his son Lex's karting program, Rick's also been a driving force in a project in Mildura, where he grew up, called Trentham Waters, a bit of a kind of Palm Springs style estate by the Murray River there, which is due to open later this year or early next. Well done, mate. Typical of the Kellys. What we've seen so far looks amazing. And a shout out to a colleague, Andrew Van Leeuwen from Speed Cafe, whose book on the rookie, Oscar Piastri, is out now. Don't know how he found the time to write that book in a busy year last year, AVL. Some cool stories in there too, including how champion karter and coach David Serra knew from the first moment that he saw Oscar in a kart that he was F1 material. Amazing that it all started for Oscar by racing remote control cars too. Couple of pods to keep an eye out for notifications on in the weeks ahead too. We have tracked down Max Wilson. We're recording that soon. We're catching up with Jack Perkins too. And we'll get some F1 content around our round of the World Championship in a few weeks' time. Can't wait. That's it for today. We'll catch you next week, everyone. Bye for now.